Welcome back to Castle Farms Homestead. So today I want to talk to you about chickens. Should you get chickens? I say yes, just get the chickens. So right now is spring. Well, it's not spring. Homesteaders think it's spring. We're starting to get antsy and want to get back outside and get our hands in the dirt and get planting. And we start thinking about baby animals. And that means baby chicks and chickens. And right now, I think lots of people are considering getting chickens because of the price of eggs and all, and the shortages. So if you've been thinking about it, I just want to encourage you that you probably could get chickens and you would probably like it. So when Clint came up with the idea of getting chickens about 8 years ago, he was excited about it and I was not. But I actually ended up coming around pretty quickly. Chickens are easier than I thought and more fun than I thought. And the benefits of having fresh eggs are better than I expected that to be. So not everyone can have chickens, but most people can. So check with your city and see. There's many cities have ordinances that allow at least a few chickens. Most don't allow roosters because of the loud crowing. Chickens aren't silent, however. They do make a little bit of noise when they're laying an egg. And I like the sound. I just think it sounds nice and homey and not a problem. Way better than a dog barking incessantly. So check with your city, and even HOAs will sometimes allow chickens. I know we had friends in Phoenix, and they were allowed to have chickens because chickens eat bugs and scorpions eat bugs. So when you have chickens and they cut down the amount of bugs, you have less scorpions. And some chickens can eat scorpions also, and they can actually withstand scorpion bites. Not that that's something you want to have happen to your chickens. So go ahead and check it out. I even have a friend who went to her city and got some things changed so that they could have more chickens in town. So it's worth pursuing. I thought I would let you know a few things that I did not know before we had chickens because I was clueless. And I was not a city girl, but a suburbs girl. And someone just asked me a few of these questions last week. So I just thought I would give you a little bit of info about chickens. So, how often does a chicken lay an egg? I had no clue. Well, it turns out chickens lay one egg per day, but not every single day. So that really depends on the breed. Some will lay 5 or 6 days a week, and some will lay 2 or 3 days a week. So we generally like to choose breeds that lay about 5 days a week because you're raising them for eggs. So that's one question that I had no clue about. Another is the color of the eggs. We generally see white eggs in the grocery store, unless you find more organic, pasture-raised eggs, then those generally tend to be brown. Now, when I was a kid, I just thought of it as white bread is commercially made bread, and then whole wheat bread is more homemade bread. And I thought it must be something like that with chickens also. Well, turns out that it just depends on the breed. And besides white and brown, there's a multitude of colors. There's greens and grays and various shades of beige. And so it's really fun to raise different breeds of chickens and get all different colors eggs. I love having colors of eggs in a basket. So something else I did not know. Chickens eat almost everything. They are omnivores. And I did not realize this until my brother got chickens, and my dad, who was raised on a small farm, told me about this. So that's one of the best things about chickens is you never throw food away. Between our dogs and chickens and rabbits and a compost pile, we barely have any food in our garbage. So chickens will eat the lettuce when it starts to get a little bit limp. They'll eat it when it gets a little bit slimy. They'll eat the leftover casserole that's been in your fridge for a few days and no one wants to finish it off. They'll eat the bread that's stale and starting to get a little bit moldy. They'll eat the the rind of the watermelon. They love that. They will eat that right down to the skin. They'll eat leftover pumpkins. They will eat pretty much anything you feed them. Yes, they will even eat chicken. Let's see. Oh, one thing you cannot feed chickens, there's just a few things that will make them sick. One is avocado pits. And every time I see that on a list, it just makes me giggle because I picture a chicken with an avocado pit stuck on their beak. Like, how would they even eat that? I don't know why that's on the list. But there's just a few things that they don't eat. Another thing I didn't realize was that home-raised chicken eggs are so much better than store-bought kitchen eggs. Right now is winter and a lot of chickens aren't laying a lot, or some don't lay at all. Ours do, and it's not going to be as bright of an orange, but in the summertime, the yolk of a chicken egg that you raised in your backyard is going to be so bright. And then you compare it to store-bought egg, and they're just not the same. In fact, a few months ago, Clint and I were on a trip, and we went out for breakfast, and they brought me scrambled eggs at the restaurant. And I looked at the plate, and I was like, oh, that's eggs? Because they were more white than yellow. And then the last thing is that chickens are easy. If you do it right and you set up your infrastructure right, they really are quite easier than I expected them to be. So you need to set up your coop well and your fences well, and make sure that they're safe. I've had a lot of people say, oh, I would have chickens, but we have predators. We have raccoons, possums, cougars, coyotes. Yes, everything wants to eat chickens. Everybody likes chicken. Well, it turns out animals do also. And if you set up your infrastructure right, you can take care of that. The only thing I don't know about is bears, because I have seen some videos of coops getting ripped apart by bears. So that's the one predator I'm not sure. I guess if you made your chicken coop out of brick would be the best solution. But otherwise, you can do things to make your coop nice and safe and keep your girls locked up at night, and you will be just fine. Let's see. So we do the deep litter method, and so we only have to change the bedding in our coop once or twice a year. It's so easy. It doesn't stink. They stay healthy, so it's a great way to do things, and I highly recommend that. And you can fill up their food and water dishes, and you can leave for a few days if you've got someone to come and open and close their door, or have them locked up in the coop, or if you have an automatic door that will let them in and out. So you could go out of town for a weekend or so. So they can be a little bit independent. If you're at home, I do like to check on them every day, though you don't have to feed them or water them every day, but you just can check on them. And another interesting thing I didn't know is that chickens don't really run away. I remember before we had chickens, driving around, sometimes you see chickens running around in people's yard, and I would think, your chickens are going to run away. How did they just let them out like that? Well, it turns out chickens like to stay home. There's a saying about chickens coming home to roost, and that really is true. They like to be home. In fact, a few months ago, I went to let ours out one morning, and apparently one of our girls had gotten out, and she was outside of the run and therefore outside of the coop. And we didn't count when we locked them up that night. And she was frantic. And I was like, oh dear, how am I going to catch this chicken? Because where we are right now, we open up to just an open gully. And I'm picturing myself chasing a chicken, because they are not easy to catch. And I was like, wait, she wants in. And so I just kind of scooted her and opened the gate to the run, and she ran right in, and she was so relieved to be back home. So they are easier to keep than you think. Here's a thought from Joel Salatin. He's a well-known homesteader and permaculture advocate. And he says, if every kitchen in America had enough chickens attached to it to eat all of the scraps coming out of that kitchen, no egg industry or commerce would be necessary in the whole country. So think about that. If we all had chickens, we wouldn't have to buy eggs, and there wouldn't be commercial chicken farms. So if you're still undecided, that might help you to make your decision. So if you're considering chickens, if you've thought about it, do a little bit of research and put in a good infrastructure, and then I say, just go ahead and get the chickens. And you'll be one step closer to being self-sufficient. See you next time.